On the show today, we have LemonadeLXP's very own John Findlay and Royal Credit Union's Tessa Maki talking about the credit union's experience using Lemonade's gamified training technology for credit union staff, and they have been officially named a super user of this really cool tool. So check it out. Yes, welcome to our show, and boy, do we have an episode planned for you, or slated for you over the next few minutes. But first, we have to do some introductions, and I'm going to go ladies first. Right below us is Tessa Maki from Royal Credit Union. Tessa, how are you?
Hello, Michael. I'm doing well. Thank you. Glad to be here with you.
Well, glad you made it as well. So going to be a very integral part of the episode today. And then right next to me is Mr. John Findlay from LemonadeLXP. John, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
Doing great. So, all right, guys. Well, let's dive right into this, because I'm sure you got lots of other things to be doing. So let's dive in, shall we?
Sure.
All right, Tessa, you're going to be up first here. So what was going on at your credit union that prompted you to look for a solution like LemonadeLXP? And then the second part of that question, boy, I got a doozy right up front. I'm sorry. The second part is like, what ultimately led you to go with them?
Right. It's interesting. We didn't necessarily have a stated challenge that we were setting out to find a solution for. We had been meeting to discuss what our plans were for our digital adoption strategy. We knew that in 2021, we wanted that to be a goal. Just knowing with more members moving to channels that are online, we wanted to make sure that our team members felt very comfortable using those same channels. So we were looking for ways to do that most effectively. And in the midst of those conversations, I happened to get an email from a sales rep from LemonadeLXP.
Oh, good timing.
And mentioned that digital adoption was a big part of what their solution could be used for. So that was enough to spark our interest to check it out. So as we started looking at it, though, we started to catch the vision of how different this solution was compared to our traditional methods of training. And it was really those aspects that drew us in and brought us to a point of deciding to go with LemonadeLXP. And that was to address challenges that, again, we weren't necessarily looking for solutions for, but it was things like just learner apathy towards training, viewing training as the checkbox. We just got to do it to get it done. And then also for us as instructional designers and content creators, kind of the same old what we were doing. It worked. We could make things relatively quickly, but we knew that it kind of lent itself towards some of that checkbox training. And having something that sparked creativity and interest in us as we were watching the demos was enough for us to move forward with looking at it and ultimately going with LemonadeLXP.
Sounds good. All right, John. So what exactly did you guys do when the agreement was made? All right, we're going to come in and help you guys out. Share with us what you guys did for Royal Credit Union here, and then the situation, any issues that you saw for them as well. So, because it sounds like what Tessa just said, there's training apathy, which we all get. We're no strangers to it. So how did you guys come in and kind of quell that and make that and help them move forward?
Yeah, well, I think, that's fundamentally what our platform, one of the things our platform is designed to do is breathe a little bit of life into training programs using specific tactics, game-based learning, gamification, two tactics that are actually different that people sort of conflate, but they're actually different. And then rolling in different types of content based on the type of training that's required. So, I think the main thing, it's the platform really that does everything for the customer. And I think that was the case with Royal Credit Union. I think what we ultimately did from a service standpoint is, help them get up to speed on the platform. But their team were pretty quick studies. So it didn't take a whole lot of time before they took it and ran. And Tessa actually became almost a super user overnight, it seemed.
Wow.
And so I think really what we did was enable them more so than doing anything above and beyond. I think the platform just enabled them to roll out more engaging learning modules quickly and to breathe a little bit, or gives opportunities for their course authors, content designers to look at training in a different way. I think, would that be fair to say, Tessa?
Yeah, I would agree for sure. And like John said, the platform, the way it's designed, it makes the content creation so easy. Like you can create these, and he noted it there, the game-based aspect is the huge thing. That's what makes it not same old, same old. It's what makes it engaging for the learner. So it really takes your traditional content and turns it into these bite-sized pieces, which is micro-learning at its best. For those that come from the training world, we hear that concept of micro-learning, but you'll watch an hour webinar on what it means and you leave thinking, I still don't really know how to do it. I get what it means, but I don't know how to do it. So that was a huge draw for us, was how Lemonade really made it so easy to create these bite-sized chunks. And then not only are they bite-sized, they turn them into a game. So you're earning members, you're growing your credit union, you're doing in the game what we want our team members to be doing in real life. And that's improving their knowledge and skills so that they can better serve their members, draw more members, keep members that we have already. So I love that concept of how they're doing in the game what we want them to do in real life.
Yeah. And that kind of leads me to my next question is like, so what can you share some benefits that your credit union has experienced since you've been using this technology? Because again, it's not the I don't say the competition, but the gamification like you said, creates that engagement, and we all want to like get in there and kind of get your competitive juices flowing. And so that really gets you really engaged and locked in. So having said that, how has it benefited you guys since you've been using it?
Yeah, it's been great for engagement. We have only been up and running for 6 months. So I don't want to speak like we've been on this for years and years, but in our 6 months that we've been on it, we've rolled out 2 required trainings. All team members needed to complete them. They were based on digital adoption topics. And then we've also had a number of optional courses out there, and then some department specific content that's been out there. But it really has driven that engagement. The team members that get into the game side of things have gone crazy with it. At first, I was like, oh goodness, are we going to have to start saying, hey, you can't play quite that much?
Curb your enthusiasm.
Right. Just not an issue we ever thought we would have with training. But some of the key things that we've seen with that have been so beneficial is just that drive to replay the games, which again, I never thought I'd use the word replay in relation to training. In our current learning management system, the thought of someone going back out to just take something kind of for fun is not something we see. And so that's been a big thing, is we can actually look at the dashboards and we can see that people are going back out there and taking the same content over and over to get their score up, to improve, and just to get back in there and be earning their members. But more tangibly of seeing how that's played out in the real world, during one of our first courses, we actually had a team member that came to classroom training and showed the trainer his notes. And actually, it probably was virtual. I don't know that he was actually physically in the classroom, but showed her the pages of notes that he had taken so that he could ace this training.
Oh, wow.
And we're like, well, that's amazing. That's cool. But then he went on to say, and because I had all of this background knowledge on the current system, it was training for an upgrade to a system, but it gave him enough background on the current system. And he was working on the teller line, didn't typically go in depth on the online banking with our business members, but this training he'd been taking over and over gave him enough background on the current system that he was able to answer a question that came out without needing to refer them to someone else.
Oh my God.
So we got this story of like, wow, not only is he taking the training over and over to perfect it, but then he had this perfect example of how that information stuck and he was able to transfer it into better serving a member. So that's what we're looking for. So that was cool.
Right on. And John, you kind of jokingly use the term super user, but oh my gosh, I think it's definitely true based on that. Is this kind of the reaction that you guys are looking for?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. And there've been a few stories from Tessa and her team that really stuck out for us. I mean, one of the big things we wanted Lemonade to be able to do is deliver training within the flow of work, because it's one thing to sit in a classroom or to take an online course and have a bunch of information come at you, but then leveraging that, remembering it, and using it in the real world is that's a difficult thing to transfer. And so the micro-learning approach and the game-based approach was designed to get people engaged and make them realize that training can be short and fun. And by making it short, it allows them, when they have time within or they're preparing for something, they can go in and take a little bit of training and get ready for what they're about to do. So that delivering within the flow of work is really important to us. And we've heard from Tessa that they've got some team members who are doing that as well. So I think they're using it as we intended, and probably even better than we had intended.
That's awesome. And I don't mean to go off too far on a tangent here, Tessa, but hasn't training been like a big, I don't say a challenge in the industry, but based on what's happened the last year and a half, there's just been all sorts of stories that I've heard in the industry about training issues and things like that. I mean, so how has this helped you guys, or has it? Or I'm just kind of curious to see how this has played in it.
For sure. I would definitely say it has. I mean, we, like many, overnight had to go from a lot of classroom training to 100% virtual.
Right.
And so that in itself offered a lot of challenges. And one way that we've seen LemonadeLXP really benefit us there is one of our classroom trainers. She took all of the worksheet activities that they used to do in class, and the worksheets had moved electronic before we went virtual. So at least that step was there. But rather than having her classroom participants complete these virtual worksheets, she transferred those all into LemonadeLXP activities. And so now they can complete them in class. And what she's finding is they can get them done a lot quicker because it's auto-correcting. So they can answer right away, get the feedback. She's even done something really creative with it, where she's set up some of the questions, they're multiple choice, but your multiple choice responses might be something like, yes, I definitely know it's this, or I think it's this, but I'm not sure, or maybe it's this, but it's a complete guess. And then based on how they respond to it, the level of feedback they get is determined by kind of what their gut was. So if they're like, I absolutely know it was this, their feedback is just, yep, you're right. And if it was, I think it's this, but I'm not sure, then it gives a little more detail. So I think that's a really creative way to use it. It builds in almost some of that discussion you would get in a classroom setting into the activity. So that's been one specific example of how I can see how it's helped us there. She says the activities in Lemonade are much quicker, and it also, because there's that replayability, if someone finishes it way before someone else, they keep playing it. Or they'll go back and take other ones. Whereas with the worksheet, once they've got their answers written down, they're not going to keep saying, well, maybe I'll just look those up again.
Right.
Like, you wouldn't do that. So it's offered some really creative solutions in that way. The other thing that we've seen is that it is just a way to get some engagement when we do have so many team members working remotely now. Some are driven by the leaderboards and going out and retaking things to try to get more points and more members.
Oh, right on.
And that's been something that has been engaging for them. Now, does that draw all team members? No, but it doesn't have to. The training itself is still very effective, even if they don't care about the game aspect of it. So that's something too, that it has that flexibility as far as the game side goes.
Gosh, I mean, who would have, you rarely, if ever, hear people like, oh, I'm going to go do the training over again. I'm going to replay that again. You never hear that type of stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, and they've gotten really creative with how they've designed it, because once you hit level 5, you're going to start losing members if you're not out there taking training. So
what goals did you, I mean, obviously you guys are really excelling with this training, with this tool. So what goals did you or do you still have in mind for this? What do you guys hope to achieve here?
Yeah, I think, we're still so early on in how we're using it. So right now I would say it's very much goals of like what we're looking to do. We're looking at converting a lot of our content over to this. We have a whole series of introductory courses that new hires take.
Okay.
That we attempted to do micro-learning with our current tools, and they're shorter than they used to be. It took content out of classroom that used to be delivered face-to-face. So it achieved that goal, but we want to take it further to have it be that more engaging and something that, again, they can go back and retake and refresh on.
Okay.
So I'd say that's a big thing. So I'd say our biggest goals really are engagement. As well as just driving that effectiveness. As far as getting into exact metrics of what that will look like, I don't have all of that for you. But one thing we've seen with Lemonade is they have these wonderful graphs that show you here's their baseline knowledge. And then because they are taking it repetitively, you can see, okay, this is where their averages started. And over time, this is where their knowledge has shifted to. So we can see that it's making a difference. And that's something where before we didn't have that. So it's really nice to have that level of detail so we can see that it's doing what we want it to be doing.
Right on. And having a more engaged staff. Come on.
Right?
A more knowledgeable, engaged staff for sure. Yeah. And I think you stole a little bit of my thunder for my next question for John, but that's okay. That's all right. But I was going to ask, what's next for you guys? What's next? What's on the docket here? John, you want to take that one?
Well, there's a few cool things that we have cooking at Lemonade. We brought out a content exchange recently. What that is it's a repository of ready-made courseware that our clients can snag from the content exchange, load onto their instance, and then they can customize it if they want or use it as is.
Okay.
The whole idea there was to try to take some weight off our customers, training developers and content developers. And we're finding it's getting used an awful lot. We've got over a couple hundred modules in there for everything from diversity and inclusion to cybersecurity to financial wellness, all sorts of FI-focused bank training that comes in with the instance for free, which we're excited about and we're continuing to invest in. So that's one thing we're pretty excited about. And we also are looking at externalizing Lemonade for training, giving members a bit of education on financial literacy, which we think could be super cool. And so we're at the early stages of that. There's a little bit of stuff we got to do to make that work. But that's really exciting because one thing that has been sort of something I was frustrated by with the education system that you can get out of university or college knowing all sorts of stuff and not knowing how to manage your own money, which I think is a real failing of an education system.
Agreed.
And I know that banks and credit unions have started to take on that knowledge gap to help their customers or members. And so if we can use Lemonade to make that experience fun and impactful, that is super exciting for us.
Yeah. My feeling is that you can never have too much of that stuff. And again, it's like, it just boggles my mind that there's not more of it out there, especially on the academic side at the university and college level, high school level. I mean, it's just, I don't know. That's a whole nother show. We can get into this.
You can invite us back for that one.
What's that, Tessa?
You can invite us both back for that one. I have a lot to say on that one too.
Ooh, all right then. All right. Part 2. Well, that said, I mean, I think we've wrapped up here. I mean, anything else to talk about? I mean, to say on this topic before we get into the other one? Maybe down the road one day. But Tessa, I'll let you go first. Any final thoughts here on just what you guys have experienced?
Yeah, I would say just to what John was speaking about with that content exchange, that is a really exciting opportunity. We've taken advantage of it some, but not as much as we hope to. And that would be if anyone ends up going with LemonadeLXP, looking into it and going down the path of where they implement. The big lesson learned that we had was we had a driving date of getting it rolled out for some training that we wanted to get out there. So we met that goal, we accomplished what we needed to. But in hindsight, the one thing that we would have done differently is we would have made sure to have more content out there and available for our learners.
Yep. Because
it did capture people's attention. They wanted to be playing, they wanted to be taking training. We were seeing team members take the same content over and over. Whereas if we had had a larger course catalog out there, they could have diversified and been learning more. So that was just one thing that we learned that I wanted to share if there is anyone that happens to watch this that goes down this path, that we would, and that is something Lemonade did encourage us to do that. That was our choice to move forward with less than ideal amount of content. But that is something that people are going to want to take it. So having more out there is way better.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. John, anything else here to add to wrap up?
No, I would just say that's part of the reason we decided to build the content exchange. because we have lots of clients who say they roll it out and then employees get through training fairly quickly and say, when are we going to get some more content? And so, which is a nice problem to have, employees asking for more training.
Really good problem to have.
I can't believe I didn't mention that already. We have literally had emails saying, when are you going to have more training out there? Or, hey, this would be a really good topic to put in there. Can you come up with something for this? So not a problem I ever expected to have as a trainer, but I'll gladly have it.
That's what you want. That's the one you want for sure. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to let you get back to work. I'm going to let you get back to training, Tessa, and John, I'm going to let you get back to creating some really cool technology for us out there to training technology to help us out, keep moving forward here. So this is exciting. I love stories like this. So much fun. So much fun. All right. Well,
thank you for having us, Mike.
What's that?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. Oh my God. Again, I love stories like this where there's really big time success for credit unions and the vendor alike, and how it can spread to the rest of the industry. So it's really exciting to see. So I thank you as well. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anytime.
Thank you.
And then we'll have you back on for the op-ed piece where we can, complain and criticize.
There's probably others from Royal, from our financial education area that would speak.
Come on, as well. We'll just make it a big forum. We'll make it a big round table session.
Right?
How about that? All righty, guys. I'll let you get back at it. Thanks again. Appreciate the time. Lots of fun, and congrats on the success already.
Thanks, you.